I say it all the time. Somebody has got to start standing up for these kids because the government agencies, which are supposed to protect us and the children, and doctors, they aren't doing it. Frightening levels of forever chemicals found in breast milk. This new study is alarming. And I'm telling you, parents, you have to step up and make sure that you are making good, sound decisions for your children because nobody else is looking out for them. So let's dive into this study. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski, and welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you don't hit that notification bell, you'll never know when new videos come out. So hit that. And then also, if you want to take control of your health naturally, well, because we know that true health only comes naturally, make your way on over to www.drzee.tv and you'll start transforming your life today. Now also, before we get started, I have one more favor to ask you. Smash that thumbs up button because we got some information that you need to know about and I think you're going to really like it. Well, you won't like it, but you'll like having this knowledge. How about that? A new study was published in the Environmental Science and Technology, which researchers say is the first study in 15 years to analyze PFAS. This is a group of chemicals, basically, that are very toxic. So they analyzed these PFAS in a group of breastfeeding women in the United States, gathered data from a cross-section of socioeconomically and geographically diverse groups of women and found PFAS contamination in all 50 samples tested, okay? In some samples, the levels were nearly 2,000 times higher than what is recommended for safe drinking water. There's no set standard for PFAS found in breast milk. And by the way, just because there's no standard for it, it doesn't mean it should be something allowed. And I have to tell you this too. People tell me all the time, Dr. Zarowski, and it's just on social media. Like I don't have people come into my clinic and tell me goofy things like this, but on social media, people go, Dr. Zarowski, you're promoting that detox stuff and that's nonsense. You don't need that detox. Your body has detox organs in it. Yes, I'm well aware of that. And the problem is that even with all the detox organs our body has, is we're still not designed as a human to handle all the garbage that comes our way. And so we have to make sure that we are clearing this out, and we do this through detox. If you're interested in detox, I'll put a link to a video I did on it in the description below. So as we move forward, this article goes on to say, however, a comparison, the EWG, which stands for Environmental Working Group, advises a target for drinking water at 1 part per trillion, and the Agencies for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry recommended 14 parts per trillion in children's drinking water. The researchers found levels ranging from 50 parts per trillion to more than 1,850 parts per trillion in women's breast milk. This is alarming, folks. Evaluating the effects of high amounts of PFAS in infants is difficult, Dr. Sheila says, a co-author of the study and pediatrician at the University of Washington. Studies in older children and adults have shown the presence of these chemicals damaging the immune system and creating hormonal disruption, she said. This is particularly problematic in infants as their immune system isn't yet mature. I mean, what is happening with infants in relation to their immune system is a disaster. Okay, so you're talking about this stuff, right? You're talking about all these chemicals in breast milk. We'll get to the cord blood and how they found an enormous amount of chemicals in the cord blood of the infants in just a second. But then as these children are born, they're given enormous amount of shots, far more shots than they were ever given, like far more than I was given as a child or anybody probably old enough to watch this was ever given as a child. And so they're it's such a massive assault on the immune system as these children come into the world that it's a disaster. And we look at all the problems out there and we can't seem to figure out why it's happening. It just always blows my mind with modern medicine and all of their knowledge. They can't figure out why this is happening, where you have these children who have autism in record numbers. It used to be about 1 in 2,000, and I think that was in the 80s. It was 1 in 2,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 54, folks. Can you believe that? 1 in 54 of these children have autism now. And when I talk to teachers out there, it's amazing because they tell me all the time. I take care of many teachers as patients, and they tell me, oh yeah, I mean, the amount of learning disabilities that we have in the classroom, on top of allergy issues, on top of this issue and that issue, it's off the charts. And teachers who have been in the game, they've been teaching for, 30, 40 years, they have seen the progression of this and what a disaster it is. And they're acknowledging it and saying, Dr. Zarowski, something's really wrong. And no doubt, this right here has a big role in it. And this is the thing, is that there's all this confusion out there. It's like some people say, oh, it's all the shots causing these problems. Some people will say, oh, it's the food causing these problems. It's all of it causing the problem. We have to acknowledge all of it and make changes in all of it. Now, as a parent, you have to be able to make informed decisions for your children. I know that, like, when my wife and I, when my first was born, I mean, we spent a considerable amount of time looking at mattresses that were organic cotton. They didn't have a whole bunch of chemicals in them. They didn't have flame retardants. That was a big deal to us. We specifically asked people to make sure, like, outfits and things like that they were getting at the baby shower were all chemical and toxin free. It was a big deal. I mean, a lot of these clothes are just covered in flame retardants and all kinds of chemicals and dyes. And so, doing the best you can, and it's never going to be perfect, but understand that doing the best you can will take you really, really far, okay? Now, Erica Schroeder, a co-author of the study and science director with Toxic Free Future in Seattle, told The Guardian, the study shows that PFAS contamination of breast milk is likely universal in the U.S. and that these harmful chemicals are containing what should be nature's perfect food, which is fact, okay? The breast milk is truly incredible, and that is what is best to nourish a young baby, and now it's contaminated full of chemicals. So what does that mean? That means it's not just about baby, right? Because I talked about how, well, it's important to make sure that your baby's not being exposed to these chemicals, but my goodness, it's wildly important for mom. Now, one of the things that my wife and I will do, or find important to do, I should say, is make sure that she does a detox from time to time when not pregnant, of course, when not pregnant, when not nursing, in order to help just kind of clean her body out so that you can do the best you can to help your body clean these things out. You can get your liver processing better, because what happens is with all these chemicals coming at you, you literally find yourself in a position where you are having your liver not function as it should, not clearing out chemicals. You can start having your brain do the same thing, which causes a lot of problems with brain health. And then from there, it's just a continual fallout. So if you basically promote these natural detox organs, which people tell me, Dr. Zarowski, these natural detox organs, we have them. Why do we need that extra support? If you promote supporting these organs, you can do some incredible things for your body. The results of the study counter the industry claim that the new generation of PFAS don't bioaccumulate in humans. The researchers also evaluated international breast milk data, finding in comparison to the current data that older chemicals concentration is declining while newer chemical concentration has doubled every 4.1 years. And this is the thing that's important, like I had mentioned before. A lot of these companies, they make chemicals and then they get smacked on the hand for it, and they just make a slightly different variation of a toxic chemical, but yet it's not recognized as a toxic chemical up to that point, so they get away with it. Evidence from this study also suggests the challenge with PFAS bioaccumulation in people is getting worse. When data from the current study were compared to a study spearheaded by the EWG in 2005, the researchers found there was an increase in the amount of new generation PFAS found in breast milk. Additionally, while manufacturers have phased out some of the older compounds, this is where they actually go on to say, yeah, they just create new stuff. They just create new stuff that's a little bit different. The study provides more evidence that the PFAS that companies are currently using and putting into products are behaving like the ones they phased out, and they're also getting into breast milk and exposing children at very vulnerable phases of development. And you have to think about this, like a child is developing at a very rapid pace neurologically, their brain health. I mean, if you think about it, just think of an adult, for instance. How many new things does an adult learn every single day? Not too many. A child, they're learning feeling, they're learning how to walk, they're learning how to talk. I mean, their neurological development is unbelievable as a child. And if you're exposing that child who's going through extraordinary neurological development to all this stuff, I mean, what is happening to them? It's wildly, wildly unacceptable that this is allowed to happen. Now, I just want to read a brief excerpt of this as well. And put in the comments, what do you think of this? Do you think that this is acceptable? Do you think that the government is doing a good job for us? Do you think that doctors are doing a good job warning us of this? Because most doctors don't say a word. Most doctors don't even know this exists. They don't care enough to know. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of doctors, they go to school, they learn what they learn, and they practice that the rest of their life. They don't push to learn anything new. They, at that point, are stagnant in their education. Now, polluting infants likely has lifelong consequences. More than 15 years ago, the Environmental Working Group found 287 chemicals in the umbilical cord blood that passed between mother and baby. Wow, is that crazy? Of these, 180 are known to cause cancer in humans and animals. 217 are toxins to the brain and the nervous system, and 208 are known to cause abnormal development or birth defects in animal models. So we have to really look at this and take into consideration the dangers that this has on the child. Now we have to understand it's not just about the child, but in this case it's about the mother, because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt when pregnant the mother has the breakdown of fat in her body, which stores a lot of toxins, therefore dumping that into the bloodstream, which goes to the baby. The mother also has bone demineralization because of it going to the baby, which causes a lot of heavy metals to be released, like lead, for instance. So you can have lead and mercury and pesticides and all these 287 chemicals surging right into your baby. So as a woman, if you want to give your child the best shot at life, you have to work on yourself first, and then of course you work to do the best you can for your child as well. And so take all these things into consideration. As I mentioned, I'll link up a video on detox in the description below, because I think that this is wildly important, not only for children but also for women, and this is definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, playing a huge role into the birth defects that we see today, into all the women who can't get pregnant. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many women that I know of who are trying to have babies and they either can't get pregnant or they keep having failed pregnancies, which is a whole nother situation, which is horrible. So we have to take this stuff seriously and take control of our health naturally.